Good morning and welcome. I'm Teddy, and you are listening to MessyMocha. So come on in, grab a cup, and let's sip this morning mocha. Please hit the like on your way in. It is Tuesday, February 25th. So I decided, let me get started early so I can get on with my day. Shout out to the mom, all my other bears. I call the grizzlies and the honey bears. So I'm going to get into the morning's news and maybe a little bit else. I will probably be on maybe just a half an hour. So while I'm waiting for folks to come on in, let's just go ahead and get started with the breaking news. Fair use commentary. As always, this broadcast is for education, criticism, news reporting, and entertainment purposes only. Sec. All right, so the deadline has come and gone. I believe it was midnight for the federal workers to respond to Elon Musk's request to the 5 things. What have you done in the last 5 days? Well, I heard this morning. Let's cut that short. Hang on. I kind of like the background music, but okay, it's super, super low. But I heard this morning that had the employees just simply, just write something. It was kind of, I guess, a test. I'm going to have to look that up because I was driving when I was listening to this. So in the mornings, I go run and get my coffee. I'm either listening to CNN or I'm listening to Fox or one of the other news outlets, major news outlets in my car because, I just got to stay up to date no matter where I am. And that's what I heard this morning as I was driving. Yeah, so let's get into these uh, 5 things. Plus, this headlines Trump said that anyone who didn't respond is semi-fired or fired. Then hours later, his administration contradicted. So some employees responded, some did not. Some of the uh, labor union leaders and others told the employees, don't respond. Then there were some who were interviewed. Maybe I can play just a little bit of that. But if you were in their position and you were given an email, a directive on an email from someone that is being supported by the president to respond, your job might be on the line. What would you have done? Okay, so let's get into the 5 things. First, immigration. The Trump administration is halting its plan to house up to 30,000 undocumented migrants in tents at the military base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. A U.S. official said the tents don't meet detention standards because they lack air conditioning or electricity. There also haven't been enough migrants coming to Guantanamo Bay to justify building more tents, officials said. Last week, more than 170 migrants at the naval base were flown to Venezuela, nearly emptying Guantanamo Bay. Since then, 17 migrants have been brought to the detention center portion of the base, while roughly 1,000 U.S. service members are on site supporting the mission. I mean, really, should they have the base open? 17 migrants? support team. All right, so going on to federal job cuts. Federal workers spent Monday trying to figure out, or even whether, to respond to Elon Musk's weekend email blast telling them to explain their work last week or risk losing their jobs. First, President Donald Trump called Musk's email plan a pretty ingenious idea and vowed to support his brazen efforts to purge the federal government workforce. The president added that employees who don't answer are quote unquote semi fired or fired. As federal agencies scrambled to issue guidance to their workers, the Office of Personnel Management later contradicted Trump, saying responses were voluntary. That's what I heard this morning. Musk later doubled down, saying in a statement that failing to respond to a second inquiry would result in termination. So apparently there will be a second email that goes out, if it hasn't already gone out this morning. Next, U.S.-Russia relations. The U.S. joined Russia on Monday to vote against a UN General Assembly resolution condemning Russia's war against Ukraine in a stunning shift from years of U.S. policy. The vote saw the U.S. at odds with its longtime European allies and instead align with the aggressor in the war on the third anniversary of Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin also said Monday that his country is open to economic cooperation with the U.S., including on energy and mining rare earth minerals. The comments followed discussions between the U.S. and Ukraine in which President Trump has demanded access to nearly half of Ukraine's mineral resources in exchange for military aid. Well, what I read, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, and this is alleged, doesn't like that idea. You know, the part of the U.S. accessing these mineral resources and sharing in a percentage of those. I guess it would have to be excavated and or mined. However, these mineral resources would be unearthed. Sounds like Ukraine has a lot of natural resources that could help. I'm just thinking, maybe this is their line of thinking, the White House, that can help to offset some of the monies that the U.S. government has given to Ukraine during this war. I don't know. What do you think about that? Next, have you been to a Denny's lately or a pancake house? Well, egg surcharge. There are a growing number of U.S. restaurants are responding to the nationwide egg shortage by adding a temporary surcharge to their egg-based meals at some locations. Denny's, the popular diner chain, said its price decisions are now being made market by market and restaurant by restaurant. Earlier this month, Waffle House, another story diner chain, introduced a temporary 50-cent surcharge per egg. Major retailers, including Costco and Trader Joe's, have had to take action as well by imposing limits on how many eggs one customer can buy, according to the USDA. The avian flu has killed more than 140 million egg-laying birds in the country since 2022. At least 18.9 million birds have been culled in the past 30 days alone. And then finally, crypto hack. North Korean hackers have stolen 1.5 billion in cryptocurrency in a single heist, making it the largest crypto hack on record. Security experts told CNN the hack hit Bybit, which describes itself as the world's second largest cryptocurrency exchange with over 40 million users. North Korea's formidable hacking corps is an essential source of revenue for the nuclear armed sanctioned battered dictatorship. According to US and South Korean officials, experts say this incident is an early test of how the Trump administration will address the steep challenge of trying to prevent North Korea from funding its nuclear and missile programs through hacking. I've never purchased cryptocurrency, but apparently there's quite a demand for it, to the tune of 1.5 billion hacking alleged by North Koreans. Let me come out. Hope we're doing good for time. It is now 8:15. And we are live right now on Facebook and right here on YouTube. You can email me at unwinewithteddy@gmail.com. So it's kind of interesting still. If you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, it's imperative that you make sure that all notifications are turned on. What else is in the news? Let's visit Fox for a moment and see what their headline. Judge accused of hurting Americans by blocking Trump's promises may face a reckoning. An exclusive White House warns dim senator could cost Americans trillions. It's all about money. ICE raids disrupted after posters with agents' personal information go up in Blue City. Let me take a look at that. Have you heard that to head off these ICE raids, leaks are occurring, warning certain that they're coming? So, U.S. protests, anti-ICE activists disrupt LA operations, post photos, names, and phone numbers of agents. If this is true, then there's a lot of doxing going on. Let's see. Former Massachusetts sheriff warns officials who won't cooperate with ICE. So flyers showing the names, pictures, and phone numbers of Immigration and Custom Enforcement ICE agents have surfaced in a Southern California neighborhood. Multiple federal law enforcement sources confirmed to Fox News national correspondent Bill Mulligan that anti-ICE activists who have been interfering with ICE operations in Los Angeles area in recent days have now started putting up posters featuring personal information of ICE and Homeland Security investigation officers working in the Los Angeles and Southern California area. The posters, which were written in Spanish, translate roughly to "read careful with these faces." Quoting, "These armed agents work in Southern California. ICE and HSI racially terrorize and criminalize entire communities with their policies. They kidnap people from their homes and from the streets, separating families and fracturing communities. Many people have died while locked up in jails, prisons, and detention centers," the posters continued. And let me make sure. Let's just throw this up just in case. Again, this is alleged. This is coming from uh, Fox News Digital about these posters. Let's see. In a post, this should be on X. Let's see if I have the right one. Let's see if I can. It is X. Hang on. Let me just try to bring it over. All right, so I can show you the post. It's new per multiple federal law enforcement sources and anti-ICE activists, which have been disrupting and live streaming ICE operations in the LA area in recent years. This is from Bill Mulligan's post. Have now put up posters doxing SoCal, ICE, and HSI agents, revealing their faces, names, and phone numbers. I'm told ICE is aware and investigating. I've redacted one poster which translates roughly to the following: careful with these faces. These armed agents work in Southern California. ICE and HSI racially terrorize and criminalize entire communities with their policies. They kidnap people from their homes and from the streets, separating families and fracturing communities. Many people have died while locked up in jails, prisons, and detention centers. Possible execution / implementation measures, Action 22325. It appears to warn a possible ICE operation about to take place in this area today. It follows on by saying it's unclear which activist group is posting these. Let me make sure the names and the faces are covered, but you can see this on a post, and I guess this was attached to, it appears to be tree bark, and it's in Spanish. Well, Tom Homan, the border czar, sees this as interfering and breaking the law. What do you think about that? Well, if they are interfering and not only doxing these agents, posting their personal information, in addition, heading off the operations of an ICE raid, it certainly could get some of these personnel harmed. Phone numbers, names, addresses. It could cause harassment, and worse, someone could get hurt. Also, some of the migrants could get hurt in a raid as well. Tom Homan says he's coming. ICE enforcement in the legal way. I don't know. There have been already several arrests. Good morning, Sean. Still smoking or smoking? Good morning. Over here on YouTube now. Yeah, it's a morning with a picture of a little me, a sunshine. Is it sunny where you are, Sean? Or is it still winter-like weather? We are getting a thaw out right now here in Michigan, and specifically around the Detroit metropolitan area. You're supposed to get up in the 40s. Woohoo! Yeah. For some of you, that's probably very, very cold. All right, so where is everyone this morning? I know they're not getting their notifications. And I think there might be just a slight possibility there is some interference with this broadcast. Can I prove it? I'm not sure. I just know the results are staring us square in the face. Finally, at the UN, the U.S. delegation voted with some of its most sworn adversaries. Even as French President Macron flatters Dear Donald. Did you hear that? I did. I was listening to some of their conference in the White House. The U.S. is deeply estranged from the West on Ukraine. U.S. President Donald Trump meets with French President Emmanuel Macron in the Oval Office of the White House in Washington, D.C. That happened yesterday. This is how much Donald Trump has already transformed America's global role. The drama at the UN headquarters, better reflected by the gaping new transatlantic rift, that the scenes in the White House as Trump and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron clasped hands and ladled out mutual flattery. This was not the only jarring juxtaposition on a day of diplomatic drama, stretching from Kyiv to Moscow, from London to Washington, and New York as global powers jockey for position in the global great game suddenly shaken up by Trump. Say one thing for the American president: his craving for a one on one summit with his friend, Russian President Vladimir Putin, has unleashed a torrent of crisis diplomacy aimed at ending the war in Ukraine that was frozen for years. But his mind boggling turnaround toward Putin and away from Ukraine has scrambled old alliances and set off a race by America's allies and adversaries to shape the peace deal he plans to conclude with the Russian leader. So I read that even the French president, those allies, European allies, would like a seat at the table. In London, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who was or will follow Macron's bid to redirect Trump with his own White House trip on Thursday, said the G7 should take on more risk to hurt Russia as he announced a new raft of sanctions. But Trump wants Russia back in the rich nations club, the G7. In Moscow, Putin condemned European leaders whom he suggested were too close to Ukraine to help broker peace, while dispensing the kind of praise that Trump laps up when he said the president was free from such shackles. Behind the diplomatic theater is a common theme. Leaders know that Trump is desperate for a deal to bolster his reputation and worry that in his quest for political adulation at home, an elusive Nobel Peace Prize, the US president isn't particular about the details. I thought about the same thing just only days ago. I said, what is he eyeing? Nobel Peace Prize. Who else won the Nobel Peace Prize? Let me give you a moment to think about how it might relate to what I just mentioned. Let me pull it up. Give me a moment to search and answer. I knew it. It was President Barack Obama who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009. The Norwegian Nobel Committee honored him for his extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between peoples, placing special emphasis on his vision and work for a world without nuclear weapons. At the time of receiving the award, President Obama had been in office for less than 8 months. Do you remember that?
I am both surprised and deeply humbled by the decision of the Nobel Committee. Let me be clear, I do not view it as a recognition of my own accomplishments, but rather as an affirmation of American leadership on behalf of aspirations held by people in all nations. To be honest, I do not feel that I deserve to be in the company of so many of the transformative figures who've been honored by this prize. Men and women who've inspired me and inspired the entire world through their courageous pursuit of peace. But I also know that this prize reflects the kind of world that those men and women and all Americans want to build, a world that gives life to the promise of our founding documents. And I know that throughout history, the Nobel Peace Prize has not just been used to honor specific achievement, it's also been used as a means to give momentum to a set of causes. And that is why I will accept this award as a call to action, a call for all nations to confront the common challenges of the 21st century.
Now you get it. Or at least that's what I'm thinking. Well, it's just my opinion. Wouldn't that be something? If the President of the United States was able to negotiate a deal between Russia and Ukraine and then be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Then, I mean, could you imagine juxtapose that juxtaposition against what Donald Trump, when he came into office, and as well, it's on record with 34 felony counts. If he were to be awarded, well, first of all, there has to be a vote and peace and all of that. But at this rate, I don't take it off the table that we could be talking about it, later this year. I don't take anything off the table, really. All right, so it is 8:35, and I think I'm going to wrap this portion of the broadcast up, at least the news. Let me play just a little bit of music. I'm going to check my email, and I will be right back. That was a little nostalgic, wasn't it? It's called Proud Walk. I mean, you could just picture someone walking along this street, pretty proud of themselves. Well, there are people just like that. I hope that each and every one of you have a great Tuesday. Join me later tonight when I come back. We'll continue with our bedtime story. And hmm, you just never know what you're going to get when you join Unwind with Teddy at night in the beer cave. I hope there's something. I hope there's something unique. Yeah, I'll put it that way. Don't know how the days will go. You never do. But I hope there's a message, a topic that will interest some of you. Biggest bear hugs go out to all the grizzlies and the honey bears. Uh, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Have a great Tuesday.